Welcome, friends, to this monthly meeting that we are having now in Chicago area. As I explained last time, the idea of having these monthly meetings is to continuously renew our enthusiasm and passion to do our job on the spiritual path. Our mind being what it is, it takes us away from the spiritual path as soon as we go away from such a meeting, and we need to have this satsang, or the company of the truth, as often as we can. So that is why we organize these monthly meetings. The dates for which have now been set in advance, so you can find out which dates these meetings will be held in the next few months. I'm sorry for coming late today. Sometimes these things happen, especially if you are married. I hope you will excuse me for this delay. The spiritual path is a very simple one. It's the simplest of all things that I have ever heard about. The spiritual path says the truth is within you. If you can pull your attention from what is outside to what is inside, you are right on track on the spiritual path. Nothing could be simpler than that. As Bulle Shah, the mystic, explained, Rabuda ki pana, etho putna, ethe lana. He says, it's not difficult to find God. You just put your attention from here and put it here. Makes it so simple. The truth is that it is very simple, but we have made it very complicated and difficult. The reason for making it difficult is our own mind. Mind spins around theoretical concepts, spins around different interpretations of what is meant by going within. It does not understand what is within. It does not understand what is ourself. It questions the very basic things which are so fundamental to our experience. There is nobody who doesn't know that we have a self, because we experience it all the time. We all know we have a self, and the self is doing everything. Why should it be difficult to see something that is so obvious that we all have a self? Of course, problems start arising if we start wearing a strange kind of a shirt or jacket and starts asking ourselves, is this shirt me or am I somebody else? Am I wearing a jacket? Is the jacket me or am I somebody else? It's precisely that situation now, that we are wearing certain types of bodies, certain types of costumes for experience around us, and we are bothered whether those costumes are ourselves or not. This physical body, which we know is a very short apparel we are wearing, is a very short-lived costume that we are wearing. In terms of cosmic time, where we are talking of galaxies existing for billions of years, our whole universe existing for so long, how much is this physical body's life? It is so limited that you cannot possibly think that an immortal self, which believes all the time, it will never perish, it will never die. We all believe that too. We see other people dying, it doesn't occur to us that we will also die. Where is that coming from? Where is that persistent thought coming that there is something that will not die? And that is our own self. And yet we want to continuously examine whether the covering is upon ourself are ourself or not. If we can just understand that the covering upon the self can never be the self, no matter what kind of covering it is, we'll make the spiritual path a very simple one. The physical covering, which is our physical body, dies. Great mystics have come, philosophers have come, expounding on reality, expounding on different philosophies. All died. Nobody survived forever, nor are we going to survive. And yet, we are thinking that even in this body we will be forever, living forever. This is the mistake we are making. And the mind is capable of making this mistake. So the mind is continuously regarding an experience, no matter what, as reality. An experience that is taking place outside of ourselves, knowing fully well that the experience is being generated because we are conscious people. We are awake, we are conscious, we are living, and that is why experience is taking place. And yet we take that experience as reality and not the experiencer whose consciousness is having that experience. How could we mistake our own experience with the experiencer, that the experience is more real than the experiencer? Whereas, if there was no experiencer, there would be no experience. If we were not there, there would be no universe, there would be no world. It should occur to us that supposing we become unconscious, what happened to the world? The world disappears. For us, the world disappears. But we think the world is more real, we will disappear. Therefore, the truth is that we are having a very inverted look at what is happening around us. We are looking at outside things which are just occurring because we happen to be self and conscious. Therefore, we think what is happening outside as an experience is more real than ourselves. We have experiences right now here. We go to sleep and we forget what is outside. Yet we take the outside to be more real. We go into sleep state and have a dream. The dream becomes real. And so long as we are not aware that there is an outside wakeful state, we think the real dream is the only reality. When we wake up, the dream becomes unreal. Can we not imagine that if this can happen once, it can happen over and over again? That this could also be a dream which we are taking to be real, and we could wake up to another reality, and this will become unreal like a dream. These are facts which are so obvious to us, and yet we ignore them because the mind is taking us on a big ride into our experience outside and not into the experiencer or the self within. This experience outside is being generated in a beautiful way. It is so perfect, so beautiful, that there is a difficulty in not considering it to be real. It looks so real. You examine the experience and you measure the things. We keep on measuring things all the time. And measurement is one thing that has made reality for us outside. I remember a story. Sometimes we remember these stories, they come to help us to understand a point. Not that this story itself has some significance. I remember the story of a very benevolent king who wanted all his subjects to be always taken care of, and he wanted to make sure they all have a housing, they all have proper food, and they all have proper clothing. So he would send his emissaries all over the country to find out how people were doing. One day, they came back and reported to the king that there is a man living in the forest. He has no house. He lives under a tree. He has no food. He is eating raw berries and apples from the wild trees. He has no money to buy clothes. He is wearing some old tattered clothes. And he has a group of followers around him who are also in the same state. The king said, "That's the kind of man I would like to go and personally help." So the king packed up a lot of gold in a suitcase, about 14 kilograms of gold, which he thought would be sufficient to make him a nice house for himself and his followers and provide enough for his food for his lifetime. He packed up the gold and took it to the forest and met the man who suddenly got up. He said, "Your Majesty, what brings you into this forest?" He says, "I have come to reward you. I have come to help you because I understand you have no house and you have no clothing and no food, so I brought something for you." He said, "Your Majesty, what have you brought for me?" He said, "Here's a suitcase of gold. This is 14 kilograms of gold. And I have brought it to you so that you can get a house, you can get food, and live happily ever after along with your followers." The holy man sat down. He said, "King, can I serve you something?" The king was surprised. "What can he serve me?" He said, "I have an apple. I plucked an apple from a tree. I can give you that apple." So the king said, "All right." The retinue sat on the ground. The king also sat down, and the holy man took out the apple and began to cut into pieces. He saw there were 8 people sitting there. He counted them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and he cut the apple into 8 pieces. Before he could give it, another group of 10 or 12 people came up. So he took the pieces back, and now counted they were now 25 or 26. So he began to cut those pieces into smaller pieces, and he gave very small pieces. He gave to each one. The king also got a little piece, but when he tasted it, it was so fulfilling. He couldn't imagine that this little piece of apple could be so fulfilling. So he told the holy man, he said, "You gave such a small piece of the apple to me, but it was so fulfilling, I've never had a good meal like this." He said, "King, I gave you too much. This apple was good for 1,000 people. I have overfed you right now." Then the king said, "I want to give that gift to you of 14 kilograms of gold." He said, "King, wait a minute. Let me first accept your gift. Then I'll talk to you." He said, "All right." So he accepted the gift of that suitcase with 14 kilograms of gold and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty. Now I want to give you a gift." He said, "Yes, what will you like to give me? Another apple?" "No, I want to give you something that you value, something that's important for you. So here is 14 kilograms of gold I present to you." The king said, "How can you give me back my own gift?" He said, "That means you never gave it to me. Because if you still think it's your gift, you never gave it to me. If you gave it to me, I can do what I like with it. So therefore, if you really gave it to me, I am going to give it back to you as a gift of 14 kilograms of gold, because that's important for you. It has a lot of value. It's 14 kilograms of gold." He said, "Now wait, king, I want to show you something." He told his followers, "Go and dig near the tree, nearby tree." And they dug under the tree. There was a chest. They pulled out a chest, and it was full of gold. He said, "Majesty, this is 65 kilograms of gold. It has been sitting next to me all these years that I have been here. If gold could give me something, I would have pulled it out long ago. What I have, no gold can buy. And therefore, you cannot give happiness through gold. I attained happiness. It has no value. It's priceless. And king, I want to tell you one thing. Your problem is only that you measure too much. 14 kilograms. That number 14 was in your mind all the time. How much you have given. How much it is. He says most of your problems arise because you measure too much. You count too many numbers. If you forget to count numbers and look at the abundance of things around you, you would never have unhappiness. So that is why this point was made that we, in our mind, measure so much. We measure reality by miles, kilograms, kilometers, measure reality by how many feet it is. We are measuring all the time. That is why the measurement seems to give us a sense of reality. How far are the galaxies? How many light years it takes to go there? How far is that thing? How small is a neuron? How small is an atom? We are continuously measuring, and we think that because we measure all the time, therefore it's reality. It can so happen also in a dream, that you can have a dream and you win a lottery, and you are counting the money that you just won, and keep on counting. The more you count, the more real the money is. And you wake up, and there was no money, there was no counting. Same thing happens here. There are things happening in our life which are creating an attachment to what is an experience outside and making it look real. This is just one way that we make it look real. The second thing that is confusing us is the consistency of this particular experience is consistent with each other. That means if I want to know if this table is real, which is a visual experience of mine, my eyes say there's a table. I want to see, is it real? I touch it. Yeah, it's real, because I can also touch it. We are using one sense perception with another to define reality. If in the dream I did the same thing, and I saw a table in the dream, and I said, I can see it, is it real? I'll touch it, it'll still be the same touch. I said, it is real. And when I wake up, neither the seeing nor the touching of the dream was real. How can we use one sense perception with another and define reality by that? Now, these are the kind of things that we are doing, and all our consistency is based upon using different sense perceptions to determine what is real. So that is why we are lost in this game of a projected universe coming from the experiencer outside to the experience and treating the experience as more real than the experiencer. If this were not so, finding God, finding reality, finding our own true self would be very easy. We would just know this is just a show going on, and we'll go back into where we are watching the show and find out the truth. We are always watching this show from a single point. That point is inside us. When I say inside us, it does not matter what form we have. It does not matter whether we are human beings or we are any other species, or we are in dream state, or we are in astral state, or we are in the highest level of consciousness. We are always viewing our experience from one unique point. The point where we exist. The point that has never moved. The point that is constant. That constant point to which we belong, where we belong, is always inside us, and what we think is our form is always outside of it, always around it. Start from here. Start from the fact that we have a physical body, and we are sitting inside this physical body. Where is that point from where we are looking at this physical universe? We are not looking from anywhere outside. We are looking at the universe from inside. Somebody told me yesterday a research that has gone on to show how much sense perceptions we use. I was surprised to hear the statistics. 83% of our total experience of the universe is visual, with the eyes. Another 13% or so is with the listening. So seeing and listening constitutes bulk of our experience. The remaining 3 or 4% is all the other sense perceptions combined, which means we are depending completely on seeing and listening. Where do we see from? Where do we listen from? We see with these eyes, physical eyes, listen for the physical ears. Where are they located on this body? In a very small section of the body. Most of our 96 or 97% of our experience of the world is taking place from a small area of this physical body where the ears and the eyes. So obviously, where we are working from must be close to where we are experiencing this universe from. That means must be close to our eyes, must be close to our ears. Now put this package together and see where could we be if this is from where we are experiencing the universe. Then it becomes obvious. We are behind the eyes, between the ears, at a single spot. And when we close our eyes and say, where am I? You put the question, where am I? Am I in my hands? Am I in my feet? Am I in my torso? The answer comes back, no. These are all around you, and you are sitting in the middle of your head. This realization is not difficult to get. That if we are not the body, if we are the one who is using a body, who's wearing a body, where could we be sitting at this time from where we are operating this body? And it takes not much time to know we are sitting behind the eyes. With so much knowledge of our whereabouts, that where we are, it should be easy now to go and find out who we are. Once we know where we are, we should be able to find out who we are. So, close your eyes, close your ears, and say, where am I now? Let me find out. If I just close my ears, close my eyes, where am I? Right in the center of the head. That's, you can feel, you can experience that you are in the center of the head from where you operate if you are not the physical body but are wearing it as a costume. The whole of the body is around you and you sitting right up in the head. And everything that is happening, your thoughts, your feelings, your conversation with people, your ability to experience the world is taking place from there. So once we know that place, we have a very good starting point on discovering who we are and ultimately finding out who is our creator and which is our totality. We miss this point. People tell me they have been trying to meditate, they have not been able to find that spot. Why? Because they say we go looking for it. Now, if you start looking for something, do you realize you are not looking for yourself then? If somebody has lost something inside and is looking for it, he'll always look away from himself. When you want to see yourself as separate from yourself, then only you look for it. But when you know where you are, you don't look for it. Somebody says, where am I? Well, you are here. You are where you are. You can't be looking for yourself, but we start looking for ourselves. And therefore, we move our attention away from our own self. There was an old woman in a village who had no electric power in her house, no light in her house. And she was outside under the street lamp and looking for something. A young man came by, said, "Ma'am, can I help you? Have you lost something?" She said, "Yes. I was sewing some clothes and my needle fell from my hand and I'm looking for it. I don't know where I dropped it." He said, "Ma'am, I'll try to help you also." He also began to look under the light of the street lamp. Then after a while he says, "Ma'am, do you remember where exactly you dropped it?" She said, "I dropped it in my house." And he said, "Then why are you looking outside?" "Oh, I have no light inside. There's some coming out." Can you imagine this is our story? That we know where we are and we're looking outside? You know why? Because when we close our eyes, it's dark. Therefore, we must look outside where there is light. We are doing exactly what the old woman was doing. That's it, knowing fully well that we are inside, we are operating from there, we're looking at the wrong place. And looking for something does not mean you know where you are. Where you are, you should know where you are. So that is why the very first step which can give us an actual experience of who we are, an actual experience of what our reality is knowing where you are, which is so obvious that if you close your eyes, you are behind the eyes, between the ears. What could be more simple to specify? That you are behind the eyes, between the ears. One single spot. These great teachers of anatomy, they are telling us about the importance of the brain and how the brain is so located. Where is the point of consciousness they are examining? I remember when I was working with the government in India, our chief secretary of a state government and a very important person came from outside overseas and had an accident. He got into a coma. We were very afraid that this man might die here. It will be a big slur upon our administration. We could not take proper care of the VVIP. And so we summoned the best doctors, the best brain surgeons in the world. We got them from different places all over the world. And one big surgeon came who had done more than 1,000 surgeries of the brain. And he was looking at the patient, and we happened to ask him, "Doctor, can you tell what makes a person conscious? And where is consciousness in the brain that you are looking at?" He said, "Sir, I have done 1,000 surgeries of the brain. I still don't know where consciousness is. And I must tell you that thousands of years have passed, people searching for the same thing. What is consciousness? Where does it lie? Where it's operating from in the... All I know is," he said, "that in the middle of the head, right behind the eyes, between the ears, lies a little organ, a small ductless gland called the pituitary body along with a pineal gland. And it hangs the medulla oblongata." I was like talking in its technical terms. That's exactly in the center, between the ears and behind the eyes. And if we put a laser beam on that point, the man becomes unconscious even if he's conscious. So we suspect, we are not sure, but we suspect that that area has something to do with consciousness. He gave a good answer, an answer that has been given for thousands of years, that if you want to know where you are as a conscious unit, as a unit of consciousness, as a soul, as a living thing, life-giving thing, the one that gives life to the whole system, including your bodies, it lies right inside, behind the eyes, between the ears. That's what the doctor confirmed. So, knowing that, now can you say, can you imagine you are not a body? Just this much. I am not a body. Who am I? Close your eyes, close your ears, and ask this question. I am not the body. Where am I? Who am I? And you will notice that you are speaking with thoughts in your head. You are asking this question without opening your mouth. The question is not being asked by the body anyway. The question was being asked by something, another voice of yours that's inside. So you ask that question inside, where am I located? And you'll say, the one that is asking this question is not the body. The mouth is not speaking. My mind seems to be speaking. Some other voice is speaking. I recognize the voice. It is myself. I know I am thinking. It's my thought. It's my question. Where am I thinking from? And if I can think there, can I also see? You notice that you are seeing inside your head in the darkness in front. Can I turn my head without turning the physical head? And you suddenly turn on one side. Then this is not me, the body at all. If I can turn my head inside, if I can speak inside, there is something inside that is definitely operating inside this physical body. Go further than that. Do I have a body? Looks like I am seeing the same way like I see with the physical eyes when I open my eyes. Which eyes are seeing now? And you examine, which are my eyes which are seeing around? Then you examine, you are able to see, you can turn around, you can do anything. Can I also sit and stand inside? You find that you can sit and stand inside. You can perform all the functions that you thought you were performing only with the physical body. If you can do all that, is that more real or the physical body more real? And there we tumble down back into the same, no, this is my imagination. This is my imaginary self. The physical body is more real. Now here I have to pause and tell you a little bit about imagination. People continuously criticize me for suggesting that you go into a state of imagination to find out who you are. And I tell them that imagination is not as imaginary as we think. You haven't practiced the use of imagination to an extent that will give you the real nature of imagination. If you imagine something against the reality of this physical universe which you assume to start with, it will always be imaginary. If you are assuming that this experience outside is the only reality and looks like the only reality, everything else will look imaginary to you. But supposing you withdraw your attention from this physical reality and only look at that which you are imagining, what happens? Imagination becomes more real than the physical universe. But nobody has tried. Nobody has practiced this. It was not very difficult to practice it. That if you can imagine that you are the one that can see with your eyes closed, not see what is outside, you can see things inside. You can see lights, you can see darkness, you can see many things, you can see colors, you can remember things, and you can remember faces and they come up in front of you. You are still seeing. The power of vision is still there. The power of moving is still there. The power of mobility is there. Everything that you had with the physical body is also there. But you call it imaginary. Okay, stay with that imagination long enough to forget what was outside. That imaginary thing will become more real than you ever experienced outside. It's a question of experimenting. It's a question of realizing what imagination is. After all, when we say imagine something, where is it coming from? Where does imagination come from? These great inventors have come, imagined things and produced inventions. Discoverers have come, imagined things and discovered things. Imagination has led to great poetry, art, all the great things that have happened outside because of imagination. Walt Disney said, if you can imagine something, you can have it. Whatever you can imagine can be made. He said that. He called imagination such a powerful thing. We are treating imagination as something totally unreal because of the assumption that the physical reality we are seeing is the only reality. Now, if we could use imagination successfully, and I'm making this point over and over again because it's a good starting point to start with the element that is going to be more real than the physical world. If you can imagine that you are sitting inside a hollow body, you imagine that you are sitting inside a house of yours. The body is barely a house, mobile one too, but it's a house. And you imagine you are living in it. You can have the experience of imagination becoming more real than this. Supposing I were to ask you to come and stand next to me on the stage, it will be pure act of imagination. I'll say, can you imagine you are standing next to me? You say, certainly, that's not difficult. You can see you're standing here. You use your imagination. But how much of your attention have you given to your imaginary self standing next to me? 1 or 2%, 10%. Bulk is where you're sitting now. Bulk of the reality is there. So you say, I'm using part of my attention to create an imaginary self. Supposing you are able to give more attention to the imaginary self standing next to me and make it more than 50%, do you know that the imaginary self will become more real and the one sitting in the audience will become less real? A great experiment, a very great experiment in understanding that is the division of attention. How much attention you put to something, that makes it real. We are giving 100% attention to this physical world and we make it real. That's the power of attention. Attention is a very, very important gift given to us. If we had no power of attention, we'd be drifting around with no sense where we are going, what's happening, no direction, no free will, nothing to be done. It's the power of attention that's giving us all these great experiences. We have 3 layers of consciousness. Consciousness means that you have the ability to have an experience. And whatever you experience is part of your consciousness. You are conscious of something, it gives you an experience. Consciousness is a generic term which means that you have the ability to be conscious. You need not always use it. Even when you're unconscious, you are conscious that you are unconscious. So consciousness is merely a generic term to show that you have the power of generating awareness. Awareness is an actual fact. What you are aware of is a part of consciousness that you are using to become aware of. You can shut your consciousness, go to sleep and have a dream awareness. You can wake up and have a wakeful awareness. You can go into a state of samadhi, into a higher spiritual region and have a higher awareness. So awareness is always a part of the use of consciousness in a certain context, in a certain way. You use consciousness and make awareness. Now we are aware. Right now there is this auditorium. It doesn't change. The whole auditorium will remain the same. Whatever we are looking at is always there. Nothing is changing while we are watching it. It's not a moving experience we are having. It's a static experience. A static experience of this whole hall with all the chairs and the stage, and I'm sitting talking to you. It's just a static experience. Now supposing you want to put your attention on these flowers here. That you have the ability. So attention is like a little probe of awareness, which can move where you like. Awareness cannot be moved. Consciousness cannot be moved. Attention can be moved. Therefore, the gift of attention that has been given to us is the greatest gift for investigating anything. We can put our attention on anything and investigate it further. If you want to look at a particular thing, put your attention. If you focus your attention, which means concentrate your attention on something, that thing becomes more clear, more part of your own observation than other things. If you concentrate on these flowers, you'll forget even I am sitting here. You will be putting so much attention on this. Wherever we concentrate our attention, we can create a reality of that experience. Since our attention is scattered all over this universe, all over this world, therefore the world is real for us. It's a scattered reality. But when we put attention, we want to read a book, we put our attention on the book. And we get so absorbed in the book, we can't notice what else is happening. That's because we are using attention as a means to concentrate your observation on some one thing. Do you know that's the very instrument we can use to discover who we are? We can put the attention on ourselves. We can concentrate our attention on ourselves. These are great features we have got. And we have all got it. It's not that some gifted people have it. We all have this power of consciousness, awareness, and attention. And when we put our attention and concentrate it on one point, we can discover its reality. Therefore, if we were to put our attention on our own self, we know where it is. We know where we are operating from. Behind the eyes, between the ears. At what has been termed very appropriately the third eye, this center of consciousness. The third eye center. It's been called the third eye significantly because these two eyes create two images. It's just a method of looking at things. The visual process that takes place in the physical body takes responsibility because two eyes create a stereoscopic effect and gives us effect of distance and depth to create a vastness of this world. With one eye, you can see a photographic picture, but you cannot see the depth. But with two eyes, they combine, and they combine to make one single image. Where do they combine? They don't combine here in the eyes. We don't see two pictures when we look outside. Where are they combining? If you examine this simple question, where are the two images being watched by the two eyes of the human body, combining to see one image? Close your eyes and think of it. It's right behind the eyes, between the ears. Exactly the same point. Therefore, it's called the third eye because that's where the two eyes combine to create the image that we are seeing all the time. We are using our third eye day and night without realizing we are doing it. The third eye center is merely a notional point where we combine the vision of the two eyes and see inside. Knowing so well where it is, between the ears, behind the eyes, we can now start finding out who is it that thinks, who is it that asks questions inside without using the body. And once you start looking at that, you are very successfully on your way to discovering who you are. Of course, a skeptic can ask a question. Why are you pointing out so much at discovering yourself? What's the very big purpose of finding out? Aren't we all very happy with what we are seeing? I wish we were. But as I told you, marriage is not the only thing that comes in the way. There's so many events in this life that make us unhappy. There are so many things that are happening, sickness, disease, poverty, very obvious things that are creating unhappiness. And then the emotional unhappiness is even worse. Breakups, divorces taking place, painful divorces. Every day you hear about them. Those painful experiences are happening. What would happen if we found out who we really are? That disappears. Because that becomes like a show. Then we realize it's a created experience. It's a created experience for some purpose. And that therefore it's not real. It is created for a purpose. What could be the purpose of creating pain and suffering and unhappiness? What kind of creative power is being used to create unhappiness and suffering in this universe and say it's a great creative power? People criticize God for this. What kind of God is it who's made so much unhappiness and suffering in this world? And we call him a good God. And just because we want to protect the goodness of God, we create an opposite of him, the devil. The devil is separate from the God. There's a negative power and there's a positive power. We divide them just to justify that one we want to worship must be good. Yet, when we say all things are created by the same creator, then we wonder. The creator wasn't very intelligent to create so much unhappiness and so much suffering in this universe. But there's a very good purpose in creating all this. And the good purpose is that the nature of consciousness is such, it examines things by comparison all the time. It always compares one thing with another to evaluate it. I remember doing a study at Harvard University where I questioned an economics class. In economics, I said that I was going through the law of diminishing returns. In economics, they say, if you keep on getting something more and more, its value keeps on becoming less and less. And I questioned my professor. I said, what about happiness? If you get more and more happiness, does it also become less and less? He said, I didn't think of it. In economics, we don't teach about happiness. I said, how can you separate a science, a study which you say is having impact on life itself, economics is having impact on life itself, and you say you don't even study happiness? Okay, I'll examine if the law of diminishing returns applies to happiness or not. I'll check with happy people. If you get more happy, there'll become less happiness or more happiness. So I undertook a study. And I picked up the names of 1,000 people living in the greater Boston area, Cambridge area. And I prepared a questionnaire. Basic question was, what makes you happy? And what makes you unhappy? Several answers came. And as it was, most of them were very similar answers. They all said, a lot of money makes us happy. A good family makes us happy. Big house makes us happy. All saying the same things. On the other side of the page was, what makes you unhappy? The absence of these things. Not good having health, having a poor family, disobedient kids, and less money. So I took up the money part first, because there was an ex-professor of Harvard University living close to the campus, and he was now in business, chief executive officer of a company, and we knew his net worth was more than $10 million. So I said, he's a happy person with a lot of money. Let me go and have a follow-up questions from the questionnaire. So I met him, and I said, let's talk of the value of money to give you happiness. Are you happy? He said, not at all. I said, in the paper you wrote that money makes you happy. He says, look, my dear young man, I was also in the same university. I taught as a professor there. I've come into business. I spent 5 years getting my graduation. I spent another years to get my doctorate degree from there. And I then became chief executive officer of this company, and I have got a net worth of $10 million. Look at the bloke next door to me. He never went to college, and he had 20 million. How can I be happy? His happiness was not dependent on what he had. His happiness was what the other guy has got. Do you know this is the standard measure we all have in consciousness? That we always want to compare. And if the other man suddenly broke down as nothing, you become happy. That means the suffering and unhappiness that is outside of you, not yours, makes you happy. It's amazing that this thing should be built into our consciousness, that we are always comparing with opposites. And now if you look at it, the value of the principle of pairs of opposites, what is happening? Do you know all experiences we are having here in the physical world are based upon pairs of opposites? If there was no darkness, we would never even see light. We won't even know what light is. Everything. If there was no unhappiness, we would never know what happiness is. If there was no ill health, we would never know we are healthy or not. Everything we are experiencing in this world is based upon pairs of opposites. Therefore, if we really want to appreciate a state of bliss, a state of complete happiness that we are promised, if we go to our true home, to our origin, where we belong, if that is a state of complete bliss and happiness, how can we ever appreciate it if nothing opposite to say to it? A great justification for creating an opposite of it. But then, that's not too bad when we find out that what was created was not real, and what we were examining was real. By creating an unreal universe of unhappiness, in which the unhappiness looks real, we come back to our own reality and find that we have real happiness compared to what we saw in a movie, in a made-up story. Gives us a greater appreciation of our true state. It's only when we have had these experiences and go back to our true state of our true home to which we belong, which is beyond the covers that we are wearing upon ourselves, that we discover the value of the unhappiness and misery that we saw, which we believed was real, but actually wasn't real, as a created one. So this is also something that has been illustrated by a great Greek philosopher earlier. His name was Aristotle. Aristotle was a disciple of Plato, who was a disciple of Socrates. Socrates was a spiritual guy. He believed that the truth is lying inside us. He believed in the same things that the modern day mystics and saints have also said. Truth is inside, find it inside. Plato was more intellectual. He tried to explain Socrates' teachings in an intellectual way, so he could intellectually explain those things. But then comes Aristotle, who said, no, we have to take the outside world as real in order to have any inner experience. He was writing about the need for drama. Why do we need drama, which is unreal? Why do we go and see drama? There were no movies in those days, so drama was the only way they could go and see something outside representing life, acted upon a stage. So he says that you need to create drama of three kinds. You can create a comedy to laugh. In comedy, actors behave silly. They behave worse than they are in normal life, and we laugh. Or you can have tragedy, in which case the actors, in spite of their nobility, in spite of all the goodness they have, they fall tragically. And thirdly, there's history, which represents life as it is. So he says in comedy, we show people worse than they are. In tragedy, we show people better than they are. They're fighting big challenges. And in history, we show them as they are. These three kinds of... And he said the tragedy is the best part of drama. Because when you see a tragic situation, you associate yourself with it. He said when you see a tragic play, you are watching it. What happens to you? You get tears in your eyes. You identify. You forget these are mere actors. You forget it's not real. But for the time being, you make it real. By making it real, you are able to remove the excess of your own emotions and change your own life. He calls it that this is a purgation of excess of emotions. And how do you achieve it? What he calls, translated into English, by willing suspension of disbelief. You would normally not believe what's going on, it's just a show. But you willingly suspend it. That's what we do today. We go to see a tragic movie. We sit there. We know it's just a shadow play. We know it's not real. We get tears in our eyes. We get sit on the edge of the chair. What's going to happen next? So why do we take it as so real? Because we deliberately need to make an unreal thing look like reality. It removes the excess of emotion of our own self and changes us. So therefore, he said that to appreciate your own state, you create an unreal situation. And then by taking the unreal situation as real, you're helping yourself. This is precisely the reason for this whole creation. Somebody says, how has this world of pain and suffering and happiness and unhappiness been created? What's the purpose of this creation? The answer is simple. The creation is unreal and made into look like reality. So that when we have our own reality, which is truly real, we'll appreciate it. We'll not only appreciate it, we will live it. We live the appreciation and know what we've got. Otherwise, we don't know what we got. In the Anurag Sagar, Ocean of Love, which is a book of a dialogue between Kabir and his disciple, they talk of the two types of souls. The souls that never left their home are in Sachkhand, true home, and he called them Bans. And those who came into this world of experiences of ups and downs, high and low, happiness and unhappiness, which he calls Hans. We are all Hanses sitting here now. When we go back to the same place where the Bans are. And we are so happy, so enjoying, so appreciating our own state. And they wonder what's happened to us. They say, we are all the same souls. And what is so special about you? That you are dancing more than us and enjoying this place of our own true home more than us. And we tell them, you don't know what you're missing. Because you never saw the opposite of it. And seeing the opposite, especially if it is not real, that be creating through consciousness an experience that is not real but appears to be real, is the best way you could have created a greater appreciation of your own self. And if you want to appreciate God, you want to appreciate your true nature, your true creator, your true creative self, your own true self, the best way is to create a show which is opposite to the show. Now remember, our true home to which we belong, which we aspire to go to, which we want to discover within ourselves, has no duality. It has no pair of opposites at all. Therefore, there is no such thing that we can compare. Consciousness cannot compare anything or experience anything in polarity or duality or pairs of opposites. We create a whole universe of duality. This universe is one of duality. By creating a world of duality, we make the world of duality an opposite of the world of non-duality. And we create the same principle to appreciate even non-duality. What could be simpler than this? What could be a better explanation? And people ask, what is the purpose of creating this? This is well created as an illusion, but looks like reality, so that we can go through this experience and then appreciate our own true home better than we could ever have done without it. But then, is it not worthwhile to have this kind of awareness, to find out that this is the purpose of this creation? Supposing you are able to go home for one moment, let's see, you go home and say, wow, that was a good thing we did to create a universe which is one of duality and pairs of opposites in order to appreciate what we have. What will we look at that world after that? It will be totally different. It will be like going to a movie. It will be like going to see a play, a drama. This is a grand play going on. It doesn't look like it because we don't see where we belong. After we go to see a movie, we come home. Here, we don't go home. If you go home, it will look like a movie. Just make one short trip to your home. Where is your home? Your home is where you are. Where are you? In the physical body. Behind the eyes, between the ears. What could be simpler than that? That you are located at one point which is easy of access. And how do you access anything? How do you go anything? We discovered already the power of attention. The power of attention, wherever you put your attention, that's where you can go. Consciousness, awareness goes where the power of attention takes it. So, to put your attention behind the eyes, at the third eye center, is the secret of discovering your own self and discovering the reality of your own self and the reality of everything. The whole process through which this creation is taking place becomes so obvious to you. The whole process, the raison d'etre of the whole universe, why it's existing, why we are here, all the questions we've been asking for centuries, why, what's the purpose, are all answered by one step of going within, with your own attention, concentrate behind the eyes, between the ears. What could be simpler than that? And yet we can't do that. When we try to do that, what happens? When we try to figure out we are there, the mind runs riot, takes us all over the experiences we are having outside. It does not let us settle in there. It does not let us put even our attention there. It is so scattered. We have scattered our attention, and then we try to gather our attention one by one, and we are engrossed in it. We can spend lifetimes in this. If you want to, supposing you are walking through a forest, and barefoot, there are so many thorns there, and you start saying, this thorn has now pricked me. Let me take this out. This thorn has come in this way. Let me take it out. It can take you years to cross a forest because thorns. But supposing you wear thick boots, you just walk through. The same system is available here. When we find that there is so much distraction to our attention, everything is drawing us out. Every time we try to put our attention behind the eyes, between the ears, at the third eye center, every time we try to do it, thoughts take us out. And we have attachments, we have desires, and those desires and attachments continuously pull us out in different directions, and we try to pull one back, the other one pulls us out. So we are like treating those thorns. What is the equivalent of wearing those thick boots that we can use to keep our attention inside? There is an alternative, a very wonderful alternative. And that alternative we have also seen and examined in this world. If you have a lot of attachments and you fall in love with one person, what happens? That true love for one person can take away all your attention from everything else. The pull of true love is like wearing thick boots. If you can be pulled by true love, it automatically takes your attention away from everything else. The greater the pull of true love, the more you forget everything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Imagine a young child playing with little dolls. And the dolls are so important and real for the child. You take away a doll, child cries like it has lost everything. Those dolls are so important for a child. All the attachment is with the dolls. When the child grows up and falls in love with somebody, what happened to the dolls? All dolls are forgotten. It's the same situation here. When we are so attracted to the worldly desires and worldly attachments here, if something like falling in love can pull us, it makes us forget all those. Not one by one. It makes us forget in lump sum. We forget these attachments outside. The pull of unconditional love is so strong that it can really hold you and prevent distractions that take you away. So that is why these great mystics and scientific meditators who came and told us the method to withdraw your attention, they said if you keep on trying hard to take away all your distractions one by one, you'll spend lifetimes after lifetimes and not achieve it. But if love can pull you, unconditional love, a love that has that kind of power, that pulls you, you'll forget everything. And that love will hold you. So the answer to this problem really is not looking for means how to avoid distractions and run away from them, how to run away from this world. The answer is to be loved by somebody inside. It's so powerful that it pulls you and you can't remember anything else. The love is so powerful. And that love, unconditional love, comes from something that's inside us, not outside. Because if it is outside, it's again pulling us outside. It should be something that pulls us inside. Now, what kind of love exists inside us that can pull us? Now, this is where we have to now discover a new reality. The reality is that our own self has the immense capacity for love. That unconditional capacity for love lies within our own self. If we knew what our self was, we would instantly fall in love with ourselves and be pulled inside. We don't know ourselves. We don't know ourselves. If we knew who we were, we'd be pulled inside. Not knowing who we are, not knowing what consciousness is, and not being aware of it, and totally immersed in an experience outside, we have to find something which is inside but appears outside. Appears outside in a form that we can identify with, and identify and compare with the love we have for people here. Therefore, our own self inside, which has true, pure, unconditional love, and it is now totally been distracted by our mind, which is running outside to look for worldly pleasures and worldly distractions. When that inner self cannot be experienced by ourselves, the inner self must be able to experience outside of ourselves. How can you find your own inner awareness, your own inner consciousness outside of this experience? You can. If you can find a human being like ourselves outside, but he actually is your inside. Let's imagine a theoretical concept that your inside can be made into a picture of a human being outside. Actually, it's your own total inside now is appearing like a human being outside. Knows your inside better than you know, because it is yourself. If a human being has the same capacity to pull, which the inside has the capacity to pull you, what would happen? You would experience the same unconditional love that you would experience if your own self were to pull you inside. Such a human being is the one we call a perfect living master. A perfect living master is no other than your own self being projected as a human being outside. The true master is your own true highest self. The true master who can pull you with unconditional love is your own true self. Your own totality of consciousness is your master and pulls you from within. But you can't see it. You can't experience it. You can only see outside. And your reality is confined to what is outside. Therefore, you must look for things outside. So the projection, the capacity to project and make a whole universe is also being used to project your totality outside in the form of another human being. Because we are used to having an experience of love with human beings. We know what love for human beings is. We have experienced it. Therefore, we can understand it. We can know it. Therefore, our own inner self, which is our true master, our true guide who can take us to our own totality, our own self, becomes a human being outside. And therefore, when we come across such a human being, what happens to us? We experience the same unconditional love. We experience the same pull that would be pulled if it was our own self pulling us back to our true nature and to home. Such a person, therefore, a perfect living master has not come to teach us anything. Of course, it's nice to be taught because our mind loves to be taught. All the time, mind wants to learn. And therefore, say, okay, learn things. There are plenty of teachers to teach you how to learn things. But the perfect living master's role is when we are tired of this experience, this journey here, when we are tired of the experiences we have been having here, and say, we have had enough. We want to go back home. We want to go back to our true home. He should appear. By a pre-arrangement, by ourselves as our own true self. Nobody else has made this arrangement. If everything else outside is being projected and created by us, so is a perfect living master also being created by us. But it's a creation pre-planned by us so that when we get tired and when we are done with this experience of this world, we should be able to go back home. Since we'll be so distracted, we'll forget where we are, we'll forget what is real, what is not real. When we'll forget all this, then part of our true self, our highest self, should appear in our experience. And such is the happening that when a perfect living master appears as a human being and we experience unconditional love, which we cannot experience ordinarily because the mind isn't capable of that. Soul is capable of that. Our own self is capable of that. Our consciousness is capable of that. But the thinking mind is not capable of it. When that happens, we are pulled by the unconditional love. It is pulled from outside and gradually pulled from inside. And what does that perfect living master tell us? He doesn't say, come and love me. Come and take care of me outside, like others would do. Others would say, if we love them outside. He says, go inside and find me there. You will find my real self inside you, not outside. I have come outside to push you back inside to see where I am. I belong within you. I am your real self. You go inside and find me. Therefore, he brings us back to the same track. Go behind the eyes, between the ears, and he's sitting there. He makes it more formal and more organized because our mind likes organization, our mind likes to put things in right order. So he says, all right, you pull your attention inside and we'll help you in that. Help you methodically, help you with the tools that your mind wants to use outside, help you with meditation, help you how to put your attention inside, help you how to deal with the distractions of the mind, do all those things and come and meet me inside. This unconditional love you're experiencing outside will be translated into many times more when you see me inside. When you see me inside, it will look like I am still separate from you, another projection of yours. And we'll start a journey to totality, to our own reality, where you'll find you and I were always the same. It was your own self that pulled you back. This is the true nature of the spiritual path. This is what we've come to share here. And I want to make it clear that people ask me about methods of meditation. I don't give much importance to it. My own master, great master, Hazur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh, never gave importance to it. He said the secret is love and devotion. The secret that will take you to your true home is love and devotion. People go into rituals, so trained by religion, we are so trained by different religions, that rituals are important, that what we chant, what we speak is going to help us to go to God? Can you ever imagine that repetition of physical words as mantras, as Simran, a physical activity will take you into an area where there is no time and space and no language? How can we be so mistaken that just by repeating mantras, has anybody ever gone to Sachkhand, to a true home? Question doesn't arise. You can't even go beyond the astral plane. There's no language after that. Therefore, it is not that these rituals, outside things, are going to help you very much. Remember the basic thing. Basic thing is love flows from the soul. Love flows from a true home. Love is the only thing that connects us continuously from one level to another till a true home. If anything will take us back, it will be love and devotion. Even meditation without love and devotion is a hollow thing. You can keep on meditating all your life and get nothing out of it. There are people who are doing it, and they think it's just a ritual. We have borrowed rituals from religion and implanted them into spiritual teachings and spiritual practices. No, the spiritual practice is to go and find the beloved, have the experience of love, outside and inside. And then something very strange will happen. You will discover that nothing can happen outside, nothing can be created as an experience outside unless it's first created inside. Therefore, the inside and the outside are the same. It's only not our lack of vision that we can't see. We think this is the reality. That's imagination. You go inside, you'll see the imagination is translating into reality outside. Whatever you're imagining is becoming real outside. It'll become more real inside. So that is why people want me to comment upon different types of meditation. I say, follow what you like, so long as you are trying to reach through your attention the third eye center behind the eyes. If you are using any meditation that takes you there, good, start with it. The ritualistic part of meditation is not important at all. People tell me, should we hear from the right ear, the sound that comes, or left ear? Left ear kal, this is dhyal, that's negative, positive. Do you think that God rests in your ear? You think reality can be found in a physical part of a human body? I mean, how can we be led by these things just because we are so used to rituals and ceremonies of religion that we make spirituality also into religion, into a series of rituals? No, the truth is that only love and devotion can pull you to your own true self, because it's connecting you continuously to your true home. That is why if you want to practice meditation, any kind of meditation, please remember it's the love and devotion. And you must have a beloved who is inside, a beloved that pulls you from inside. We have had plenty of beloveds outside. I don't know how long they pull us. Sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 months. People have come to me and asked my blessings. We are soulmates. We found each other. Must be that we have known each other for many lifetimes, for centuries, and we are identical to each other. I said, I bless you. Have a nice time in this physical world. 3 months later, they are again with me, both of them. We are in divorce court. And we knew from day one we were not made for each other. I said, that's not what you said to me on day one. You said you were soulmates. This is the kind of love we are experiencing here. Because the need to love, the need to be loved is spiritual. It belongs to our consciousness itself and is always there. Therefore, we are trying to find in the wrong place. We are trying to find something outside that belongs inside. So that is why I am sharing these truths with you, because these are the teachings I got from my own master, great master Hazur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh. People come and tell me, what you say is not consistent with what another master is saying. I said, maybe inconsistent. It's consistent with what my master said. It worked for me. Did the other thing work for you? Go and test it out. If it worked, fine. Follow it. I am not going to comment upon what any master is teaching. I can only comment upon one master whose teachings have worked for me successfully, to my satisfaction. So therefore I know it's a tested thing. It's a tested thing that meditation with love and devotion takes you to your true home. It's a tested thing, and I've tested it myself. Therefore, I can vouch for its accuracy, vouch for its truth. But what people tell me, so-and-so says this, so-and-so says this, I'm not concerned with that. It's not my role, nor my mandate to comment upon so many masters who exist in this world. Thousands of them are there. Somebody from California prepared a list of masters starting from one starting point, and that starting point was Seth Shiv Dayal Singh, called Swamiji from Agra, who started the Radha Swami movement. And he started going down from there. How many successors came, how many divisions took place. And because my own master came from the same line, Swamiji had a disciple named Jamal Singh a disciple named Baba Sawan Singh, who was my master. Therefore, I was curious to know what work he has done. And at the end of the chart, it adds up to 500 masters, all saying, we owe allegiance to the same one man. Out of great master itself, there's more than 100 were claiming that we are direct in the lineage of the great master, Baba Sawan Singh. It's not my work, not my duty, not my role to go and comment upon any of these masters. Don't ask me questions about them. You want to know the truth? I can tell you the truth from what I learned from my master. He was a great master. What he said, what he promised, he delivered. That's the whole test of a perfect living master. That if he says this can happen and it happens, what other proof do you need? Proof of the pudding lies in the eating. And that's why if you ask me any questions, ask me about the work that I learned, what to do, how to meditate, how to find the truth from great master Baba Sawan Singh. I am ready to tell you everything. But so many questions you ask, somebody said this, somebody says it's different from what you are saying. It's no concern of mine. But what I share with you is identical to what great master shared with me. Neither more nor less. Therefore, I stay with that. So I am all meeting you once a month here and some places outside, mainly to share my experiences with the great master. And to say that it is not that difficult as you think. Put your mind to it. If you are interested, if you are tired of this world, put your mind to it and discover the truth within yourself. There is somebody pulling you from inside. And that pull you can't see. Therefore, see, if you have made a projection of that pull outside, where is that unconditional love coming from? People say, we want to know which master to follow. I give them a simple answer. Whoever pulls you with unconditional love, follow. It doesn't matter. If the master says, go within and pulls you with unconditional love, follow. One man wrote to me, I have two masters. Who should I follow? I gave the same answer. He says, both are pulling me with unconditional love. I said, you are very lucky, we can't find one. You found two. Follow anyone. The question is that this is a path of love and devotion, and wherever that pull comes, you follow. Supposing the master is not a highly evolved master, just has ability to go within to the astral plane, which he thinks is Sachkhand. All the heavens are there. Who we worship as God are there, sitting on thrones and ruling these universes, created universes. Somebody takes you there and says that is our true home. Follow him. If you find that you want more than that, automatically by your own arrangement, a perfect living master will come into your life thereafter. At every step you will find that so long as your seeking is for more than what you are getting, you will get more. So seeking is the secret. If you seek for more, you will get more. So these are the simple experiences I have had with the man with the white beard. And therefore, I praise him and give all credit to him. I don't take any credit to myself, because all that I am sharing with you comes from that one man, Hazur Maharaj Baba Sawan Singh. So all the credit goes to him. I am very happy that you could come and join me today, and I hope you'll forgive me for the little delay in starting the program. We'll have a short break, and I'll see you again in a little while.